Hey Niklas, nice to have you here today to talk a little bit about blockchain and the gaming sphere, right? And about the future of gaming on blockchain. So, I mean, I have been in the blockchain space for quite a while now, mostly dealing with enterprises in the traditional sectors like financial services or pharma, right? Could you tell us a little bit more about the gaming sector on blockchain and what would be the attraction for game studios to build video games on blockchain?
Yeah, thanks for having me here. Yeah, I think of what you saw over the past years that suddenly, especially the NFT market sort of exploded into this multi-billion-dollar industry. And I think right now one of the main attractions that you can see for, I would say more for smaller studios or indie studios is that this is a new technology. So there's new tools and gadgets that they can sort of work with and create new experiences. On the other hand, I mean, you've seen what's probably been happening in the traditional video game industry over the past year. So there's a lot of consolidation. Now, the problem with that is that from the one hand, for these big, massive studios, in order to produce the type of games that they do, the budgets are ballooning to 50, 60 million or even more per game. And that's sort of a space that the smaller studios, the indie studios cannot compete. So they're either forced into, they either go bust, or if they're lucky enough, they get bought out by these sort of big industries. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I think most players still enjoy playing those big budget games for these studios, myself included. But I think the problem overall, the market is that since these sort of budgets are ballooning, that sort of cuts a bit down on the creativity and the appetite for risk that these big studios have. So you end up with a gaming industry which is a bit, let's say, a bit more conservative maybe than it should be. So yeah, I would say that blockchain technology, being essentially in its infancy from sort of the game studio perspective, that's where the opportunity is for the smaller studios. Because right now in the space, everybody's sort of experimenting and innovating, so that gives the chance to for these smaller studios to be able to sort of create new experiences and new type of user interactions that probably you can't find right now in the big traditional gaming industry. And I think another point that's quite interesting for these smaller studios is that for the first time, one of the interesting things that the blockchain space offers is that since these studios are also token holders, it gives them sort of a new way of controlling sort of their fate, in the sense that every time that they create a game that can be engaging, then they have control over their own token economy, and that's a really great way to not only reward the creative side of these gaming studios, but also reward gamers.
Yeah, thank you very much, Niklas, for sharing your view about the gaming blockchain sector and the new possibilities that blockchain is bringing into that gaming industry. Talking about the market cap of digital assets and specifically also the gaming sector, right? I mean, the digital assets market cap is around 1.8 trillion as of now. And where do you see the market going to in the gaming sector, right? And yeah, where do you see also new possibilities to increase those ecosystems and benefit from them that you?
So gamers have a lot of curiosity about new concepts and new sort of game designs, and as a result, sort of the barrier to entry, or the barrier in order to introduce new types of experiences and technologies, is quite low when you compare it to other consumer sort of segments. Now, right now, what you can see is that on the one hand, if you just simply go on that radar, you'll see that the top 5 blockchain games generate about 50 million of transactions per day. Now, it's a big number, but it's nowhere near the 30 plus billion that is being created from the traditional gaming industry from microtransactions alone. So yes, blockchain gaming is gaining some momentum, but still it's sort of just a very small footprint of the whole gaming industry. And I think that's sort of where the opportunity is right now. Now, unfortunately, up to this stage, you see that really the two sides can't compete, because the experiences that are currently being built on the blockchain in terms of gaming are quite poor in terms of user experience and sort of interactivity. So what's really attracting right now sort of a lot of gamers to this space is coming from the crypto side of things. So play to earn right now is sort of dominating the space. And although it's an interesting concept, it's not new, and we don't see it as something that's going to sort of drive the innovation in the future. At the end of the day, gamers care more about having a good user experience and a fun game, and usually the rest sort of will follow. And I mean, with Ajuna, we have created a platform where essentially we're enabling both game creators and gamers to be able to create experiences which are going to be akin to what's going on right now in the traditional gaming space. So by lowering the barriers for developer studios and allowing them to work in their natural environments with, let's say, game engines like Unity and Unreal Engine, really is sort of a huge advantage creatively for them. And with the partnership that we're doing with Integritee, really what we're trying to achieve here is create a user experience which is fluid and fast, and something which currently really doesn't exist in the blockchain gaming space.
So where do you see the performance bottlenecks in current blockchain games, and how do you try to or plan to overcome those limitations that blockchain games have currently?
Yeah, so I think there are two central aspects to consider when we're talking about performance and playability, and that's the game engine or the game logic and latency. Most games that are currently being deployed on the blockchain use smart contract technology, and that can be quite limited because essentially it leaves you with an either-or option for each of these interactions, and that can sort of creatively, let's say, chain a bit the developers that are building these games. Now, on the other hand, latency can be really important for especially certain type of games, and blockchain technology has a bottleneck in that sense, that because of the block times can be quite high, then the problem is that these games have to rely on, let's say, gimmicks like creating cutscenes and things like that, which quite seriously, let's say, reduces the playability of them or the user experience. Now, for us, it's really important that we fix the latency issue, and that's why partnering with Integritee has allowed us to work in these trusted execution environments, which not only gives us an environment that we can do that with privacy, but we can also not rely directly on the blockchain in order to make these interactions. So once you reduce that latency down to 300 milliseconds, that really allows for quite a fluid experience on the blockchain, even for traditional games to be able to sort of move in that direction. So when we move to the second sort of topic of latency, we can see that currently sort of blockchains are not really optimized for that type of experience. I mean, in our own experience, when we were building our own game, we saw that the current sort of infrastructure solutions that were out there were quite limited. So as we were researching to see how we can create a game that is more fluid and has let's say, a more fun and engaging user experience, that's where we understood that sort of working with these trusted execution environments, it allows us and developers to be able to deploy native language and the whole game engine in this layer 2, which allows them a massive amount of freedom and creativity. Now, for me, I'm not an expert on trusted execution environments, so maybe that's somewhere that you can sort of explain what are the benefits of doing that. So by working with Integritee, we allow game studios and developers to be able to deploy in their native language the whole game engines onto our layer 2 solution, which that massively reduces the latency down to about 300 milliseconds, and that sort of opens up quite a lot of the space of the type of games that can be launched on the blockchain. And I think that for us, that was really what gave us a massive amount of freedom of how we can offer a really comprehensive solution for these studios. So using this approach, we have managed to reduce the latency from a few minutes down to 300 milliseconds. And that's something that we're going to keep optimizing until we can get close to that real-time interactions that we're looking for some games. But to be honest, I'm not an expert on trusted execution environments. I just know that they work. So maybe you can give a bit more information about them here.
Yeah, sure. I mean, trusted execution environments are like a black box that are sitting in a specific space in the main memory of your processor, right? We're using Intel SGX, therefore, and this gives us much more flexibility of running specific and sophisticated logic within those black boxes without trusting those black boxes, right? So, and that's why we can ensure that everything that is processed within those black boxes is really confidential, because no one has access to that, not even the system operator, right? And I think this is, I mean, for a lot of use cases, super beneficial, not only in the gaming space, but it opens up a whole new world for applications that can use and leverage blockchain technology combined now with those trusted execution environments at the speed of a standard processor.
So the question is that the economy in the game is overemphasized. They only care about token issuance, transactions, but forget about the user experience. So what difference will you and Ajuna bring to overcome the aforementioned limitations? So I wouldn't say that the economy is something which is overemphasized. I would probably say that the economies in blockchain games are quite underdeveloped. It's quite crucial in order to make a user experience and a quite sort of engaging game, that the economy is actually very well thought out. Now the problem right now in the blockchain gaming industry is that there's a lot of focus on the play to earn side. Now with Ajuna, how we can enable these new experiences is that on the one hand, by lowering all of these barriers for developers in order to simply deploy a game, we allow them to sort of focus more on the creative side of game development. And another way that this can be very empowering for these studios is the fact that for the first time they're going to be able to own their own token, their own treasury, their own gas fees, that allows them to innovate in terms of how this sort of in-game economy can be rewarding not only for a game studio, but for the gamers themselves. So do you have a plan for your original game? So yeah, I think the blockchain space, being in its infancy, can be quite attractive for a certain genre of games. So I would say turn-based games is a very good sort of fit for blockchain gaming right now. Anything that requires real-time interactions, so think games like Call of Duty or World of Warcraft, right now sort of would not be a very good match. But as the technology evolves, I'm pretty sure that we're going to see experiences similar that actually utilize real-time interactions on the blockchain. Now for .mog, which is our flagship game, we're going more with a traditional, I would say, PvP type of mode, where that's where we're trying to create sort of a fun user experience for gamers. And there's also sort of a breeding mechanisms for the people that are more interested, let's say, into a play-to-earn type of experience on the blockchain.
Why did you choose Ajuna as a partner, and what collaboration do you and Ajuna foresee having in the near future? I think the collaboration between Ajuna and us really benefits both of us, right? Ajuna found a partner who's able to provide confidentiality and scalability for exactly the purposes we mentioned before in the conversation. And we see Ajuna as an enabling layer for game studios and game developers to build on top. That means that we are building up here with Ajuna a whole ecosystem that is leveraging our technology and will also be beneficial and fruitful as a playground in the future for other projects, right? So it is not just a single project that is using our technology, it's really a whole ecosystem that is building on top of our layer, leveraging the benefits and advantages of our technology. Blockchain's functionality is more limited than traditional fully functional games. It will limit the user experience. Besides, the graphics in the game are also limited. The character features are poor. What we do with our trusted execution environment technology combined with our second layer sidechain technology is allowing complex game logic to be executed within those trusted execution environments. This will massively improve the user experience and also the graphics, because now our partner Ajuna is able to run complex or sophisticated gaming engines like Unreal to create their games, right? And by being able to create games based on sophisticated game engines like Unreal, game studios will be able to also create sophisticated games with high-end graphics and a high-end user experience. And this will be the new future of blockchain gaming, I would say.